Hi, I'm Mitch Seekins, the vocal coach. Ever wanted to know what it takes to be a pro vocalist? Welcome to my Sing Like a Pro interview series where you hear from the professionals themselves what it takes to do what they do. This interview features the one and only Emm Gryner. Emm came to study with me when she was just 18 years old and a new student at the Recording Arts program at Fanshawe College. She went on to become a signed artist, had a couple of hit songs, became a part of David Bowie's band and toured with them for 2 years, started her own label, helped with the first and only music video shot at the International Space Station, has released over 20 albums, became an author, has become a motivational speaker and mentors people on establishing their careers in the music biz, hangs with rock stars and astronauts, just recorded a few tunes with Def Leppard and the London Philharmonic live for the BBC. Check that out on YouTube, on top of being a mom and a gigging musician. I have to confess being a little in awe of her, and I'm always curious to hear what she's up to whenever I see her. The advice she gives during our interview is first rate. You really should find out more about Emm, so be sure to check out the links below. Hope you enjoy. Emm Gryner, thanks so much for doing this. It's really nice to see you again. It's nice to see you every time I see you.
I know, it's always nice to see you.
Yeah. We live only like 40 minutes apart in two little towns, and I don't see you enough, unfortunately, but
no, we got to get the farmers market back so we
yeah,
can
exactly.
That's the last time we saw each other, was at the farmers market.
Exactly. You've had a very busy fall. You've gotten married. You published a book. Please, everybody, if you're watching this, this is a goodbye. Like, go get this. This is full of tons of stuff.
And it has practically a whole chapter about Mitch.
Yes, that's my favorite chapter.
That's bookmark.
So once again, thanks for doing this, and I'll just fire off some questions and answer them as honestly as you can. You don't need to spare my feelings at all.
Okay. Honestly, when you asked to do this, I just jump at anything that you asked me to do, because literally, if I can think of anyone who's changed my life, it's you. So what am I going to say? No? So
well, really, you could have, but because I asked yesterday.
I like to deliver.
Yeah. Okay, so how old were you when you started singing? Tell me a little bit about your backstory.
Well, I didn't really feel comfortable singing growing up. Mm-hmm. Everything was fueled by songwriting for me. I really just loved writing pop songs when I was 12, 13. And then I realized I really want to sing them, but I just didn't feel comfortable doing that at home. We weren't really an all-out musical family, let's all sing along. There was kind of a lot of judgment in my house growing up. So yeah, I really didn't sing out until later in life, but it was sort of like a dream of mine to be able to sing.
Right. So when did you turn pro? So in the songwriting process, you were singing from basically what age? 15, 16?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much. When did you turn pro?
Well, what happened was I got asked to go into the studio when I was 16. By Carl Dixon, right, who is a celebrated Canadian rock and roller.
Rock guy, yeah.
And he was the one actually who told me I should take singing lessons. And as I say in my book, one of us had toured with Iron Maiden and it wasn't me. Right. So I trusted him. I really did trust him. You hear a lot of horror stories of girls working with people when they're teenagers, but he was just a gentleman and really lovely. And so I really took what he had to say to heart.
Yeah.
And that is when I guess it was maybe when I was 18 or 19 that I found you. So
Yeah, I think it was 18. I think I
18,
remember. Yeah,
18 in
because
life.
I know, full of life, and yeah, you had just begun the Fanshawe recording program,
Yeah, I'm
I
writing
believe.
that down, 18 and full of life, because I'm going to make that a new song. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, I just started at Fanshawe, and there you were. Like, again, I know you've lived all over the place, but you were there in the town where I
I
was living.
yeah,
City.
I had just opened up the London studio
Yeah.
at that point in time,
How
and
old were you then?
oh God, uh, 30. Oh my. How old was I?
This would be
25,
1990.
31, maybe? 31?
Wow.
Something
That
like
is
that?
so,
32?
yeah.
I'm guessing. I'm
Yep.
guessing. Oh, yeah. Yeah, something.
And I remember going to your studio and being kind of freaked out just because I was doing something new, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And then, someone was in before me and I heard them doing their warm-ups and I was like, okay, I know I'm in the right place. And
yeah, yeah.
after a few lessons, it started to become comfortable, right? But
And
it's
normal.
always that first few
Yeah,
lessons, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you approach your vocals differently now than you did back then? I'm presuming you do. Because not only is there an experience factor, there's also the age factor, and like how do you what do you do differently from when you were 18 to now? What's your mindset on that?
Well, I love singing now because I think when you're learning to sing, you're always thinking, even in concert, you're thinking about like, oh, Mitch told me to do this and Mitch told me to do that, or my teacher told me to do this, right? So there was a lot of thinking about things and then maybe not feeling like I understood it totally.
Mm,
And then I feel like there was a big chunk of time where I just like toured and toured and toured and
yeah,
recorded. And in that time, somewhere, it just became like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do. So now I'm just singing and maybe not that mindfully, but I kind of get it now. And now I don't really think about all the technical stuff. I just sing. And
yeah,
I know when I need to like, oh, I haven't warmed up enough, so I'll go and
yeah,
do that. Or
yeah,
but it's like it's just part of you now. So
yeah,
it's part of me. And that makes it more fun because it's sort of like, okay, I know that before I do a concert, I'm going to be doing my warm-ups. No big deal. You know what I mean? I remember actually in lessons with you, like when you taught me all the warm-ups and I was like, what do you do when like someone's looking at you weird when you're doing these sounds? And I remember you just saying, I got a job to do, I got to do it, right?
it is. It is your job. This is so.
Yeah.
If you think I'm foolish, so be it. But I've got a
Yeah.
job to do, and in a few
Yeah,
minutes I'm on that stage, and you're in the audience or whatever.
totally.
You
It's like,
know.
other people have what other software they have to get ready to do their work or whatever, or
That's
like
right.
get ready in some other way in the morning or whatever. And so now it's just part of me. It's really
Yeah,
part of everything I do. Even
yeah.
before this interview, I did a few warm-ups. So
I didn't. I'm just drinking coffee. That's all. That's my warm up.
me too. But that's
Yeah,
another thing. And I know like I'm bouncing around a lot, but like I remember asking you like, "Oh, do I have to give up my coffee to be a singer?" And you're like, "Nope, you just have some water with it." So here I am, like
yeah,
I do this all the time now, right? And I loved that about you because it made it feel like it could still be rock and roll. It could still be,
yeah.
it didn't have to be like, oh, like rigid, right?
Rigid. No, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to think about that stuff when you're on stage, and you definitely don't want to sing pop or rock like an opera singer or be rigid with it. No, 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 no. It gets ingrained and stuff just starts working, you know.
Hmm.
Um, when you're recording, like, do you think about the vocals that you record and how you're actually going to produce them live, or do you just these are your songs? You don't even give the live situation any kind of a thought, because I deal with a lot of rock, like rock singers or punk singers, and it's in the studio is very, very extreme. It's a
Hmm.
different ball game when you get on stage.
Yep.
So I asked that question of everybody. Um, does that really kind of apply to you? Because your songs are so well suited for your vocals. They always sit beautifully, you know?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think the whole reason I went into music is to kind of have fun and not have limitations. And
Yeah.
so if I think too much about how I'm going to pull it off live, it really makes the songwriting process not fun.
Mm,
So, I mean, even with my public record, that was a big production in
yeah.
London and everything with the
Yeah.
orchestra. I remember the manager I had at the time going like, "How are you going to play these songs live?" And I just thought it was the most unsupportive question I've ever had because there's always a way to
Yeah.
do it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think the only time I'm really mindful of it, and I'm even thinking of it right now as I'm writing a new song, is I sometimes like it if both men and women can sing the melody. So
Ah,
sometimes I'll like be a little bit more mindful of that, if kind of drop it down maybe a little bit, but it's not at the like cost of the song, you know what I mean?
absolutely. Yeah. 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 I've had a fair number of people come to me and go, I wrote a great record. It's a great record. I can't sing it live. Help, you know?
But that's kind
Uh,
of a good challenge, right? Because then,
absolutely.
yeah, you're walking into something new, right?
Yeah.
You don't want it
Yeah.
always to be easy. And I think the human ear loves different ranges and,
Well, yeah, and the human ear, particularly with rock, loves to hear that edge. They're
yeah,
getting to the edge. It's a dangerous part. That's the exciting bit.
yeah, totally.
Um, uh, so warming up, how long do you warm up for a show?
Well, probably 10 to 15 minutes now.
Hmm.
There is a point where, when you taught me how to do the blending exercises,
Yeah,
if I don't do those, I'm not fully warmed up. So
yeah,
that's about 10 minutes in. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, because you do want to extend the full range, because it again, I ask that question because I'll get people going, oh, well, I warm up for a full hour before a show, and it's like that's way too much.
Right. Yeah.
You're you're wasting all the energy that you could use for the show,
Yeah.
as opposed to just doing a stretch. I've always taught you have to look at things like an athlete. An athlete's never going to do a full workout before a competition.
Right. Yeah.
So 10 to 15 minutes ish in
Yeah.
there.
I mean, sometimes 20. I mean, I do recall certain times where you say, maybe don't warm up as much if something's going on physically or do
Mm,
more,
or do
right?
more. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think you just get to know your body and you know when your voice is ready to go.
Ready. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Have you ever experienced any kind of issues while touring on the road?
Yeah, a couple of major shows I've been sick for.
Hmm.
Um, I'm sure you've talked about this in other interviews, but like when I did Saturday Night Live with Bowie, I was really sick. But that
Yeah.
wasn't me singing front, like being the front person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was, and there was another backing vocalist, so I could kind of lean on her a little bit.
Yeah.
I, um,
Oh my
I
God.
did
Was
lose my
wasn't was wasn't that the first gig with Bowie as well?
It was.
Uh,
So now that I know things, I kind of
yeah.
think it was probably stress related too.
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, for anybody who doesn't know, M sang with Bowie for 2 years. Two
On and
years.
off for about that long. Yeah. We
Yeah.
did albums together and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I remember getting that call from you. I was driving down. It's a lot of years ago, and I remember getting that. I was driving down the 401, and you rang me, and I picked up, and you wouldn't believe this. I'm singing with David Bowie. It's like what? So I think I pulled off the highway to chat with you about it because that was pretty exciting. That was
It
very
was.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It really was.
yeah.
And then another time I did lose my voice in concert and
Hmm.
my fans had to like sing my songs for me.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've heard that happen a lot,
a
but
lot. Yeah.
And then another time before going out on the road with Holly McNarland, I don't know if you guys remember
Mhm.
her, but
Yeah.
I just thought I had nodes or something, and I went to the Dr. Hands. Do you remember Dr. Hands?
Yes, Dr. Hands.
And
Strange dude, but confident dude.
the ear, nose, and throat doctor, who's named
Yeah.
Dr. Hands.
Yeah, I
But
know.
he was like, "Yeah, you're just dry. You got to drink a bunch of water." So those
Right.
nothing major. And I honestly, I attribute that to my training with you because it's not like I sang for like 20, 30 years and then I came
Yeah,
to
and then
you.
yeah, you came to see me right at the beginning, so that was perfect.
That's how I can have a large coffee.
Exactly.
Yeah, all day long.
Exactly. And sing for the rest of your life and not have any issues, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
Um, do you like I always ask about, vocal recovery after a string of shows. Do you find that, the voice gets quite tired? Is there something that you do in order to deal with vocal recovery, or it's not really something you need to deal with?
It doesn't seem to bug me, or it's not really anything I have to, I think, deal with other than just getting rest, which might be a boring answer, but sleep just makes everything better. I find after doing more shows, I'm more ready to go.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's because of the way that we work together and how I'm fueled by my diaphragm. I'm not doing all my singing from up here,
Yeah.
so there's less need to recover, I feel like.
Right. Right. Um, Big shows versus smaller shows. Does the mindset, does your mindset shift? Do you put more energy into one or the other, or like how do you mentally approach that?
Well, that's a good question. I think in terms of the giving at the show, like I always think it should be the same. Like if
Yeah.
you're playing to 10 people or you're playing to like 5,000,
Yeah.
you're giving the same, but you can't approach a 10-person show like you're at Glastonbury or whatever.
I know.
Um, so I think there's some like adapting to the audience,
Yeah.
making it about them, which Bowie was really all about. So I learned that from him. But yeah, just technically, I think that's where the challenges come. Like I remember opening for Def Leppard with my band Trapper,
Yeah.
and I honestly, we weren't on in-ears, we were on wedges because we were opening, and
Right.
they were just like, okay, here you guys get whatever we're gonna put out for you,
Right.
the monitors and whatever. And I can't say that I actually heard myself through the monitors because the guitars are so loud and the drums are so loud. So not ideal. However, knowing my voice, I could kind of just hear it in my head and knowing
Yeah.
how much power I had to put out, I
Yeah.
knew I was doing okay. And then in the arena, you're obviously hearing yourself.
Yeah. Slap back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you just have to kind of just trust that, okay, this is when like your team becomes really important. Like I know my sound guy's not gonna make me sound bad or whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
um, it's more of like a technical adjustment for me.
Yeah. Yeah. You need to sing by feel at that point in time.
Yeah, that's a really good way of saying it, which is sort of like, yeah, your eyes are closed and you're like in the middle of the night trying to find where you're
Where
going.
you're going, I know.
But
And
muscle memory, right? Like,
correct.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As long as you've done your homework and you know the songs well enough, then you do rely on muscle memory, and um, that's not really fun because you're always
No, it's
second guessing yourself. You know?
yeah. That's when you just trust that, okay, the audience is
Yeah,
getting what they need. And it's ongoing, right? Like
yeah,
even I did this play, which you came to see, which was singing all these Joni Mitchell songs.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I think you came near the end of the run.
I
And
think I did. Yeah.
I remember like in the intermission, you're like, you gotta like let go. Like you're like kind of tense or something. And I'm like, oh my God, well, I must have been tense the whole time because, the show is almost done. But you know what? It's like, uh, it's sort of an ongoing learning process, and I
Yeah.
think there's nothing wrong with that. And especially with pop and rock, like it's okay to not be perfect, right?
Absolutely. That's the charm of it,
Yeah.
is not being perfect. That's what gives a person individuality,
Mhm.
something interesting. I've sung with people who are like great singers, and man, it gets boring real quick. It really does,
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know if you saw the interview I did with Joe Elliott, but like he was talking about that, right? About like, there's some rock guys who are these impeccable singers, and he's
Yeah,
never considered himself to be that. But that's not what it's about, right? It's about the passion.
yeah,
And I have to also like give a shout out to you because it's not just the training, it's just you also have lived the life, like you
yeah,
have toured. So
yeah,
right? It's not like just you're in your chair, like no, having no idea about
mm,
what it's like to be on the road.
yeah,
Really do know. And I think the combo of lessons with you and then just like getting out there and playing gigs, that's where the magic happens
yeah,
because then you
yeah,
have a practical application. And then I can come back to you. I remember coming back to you many times and just saying, like, this happened, like, so we could discuss it, right?
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Is there anything in particular that we worked on that really stands out as a game changer for you?
Yes.
Fo
So focusing the sound,
Focusing
like,
forward?
yeah, and solid tone
Yeah,
because I was very breathy in the beginning. I don't know if you remember this, and
yeah.
it's still a flavor in my
Oh,
singing, but like,
absolutely. It's a texture,
yeah,
you
but
know?
that is a game changer for me because now like I really can tap into that kind of a voice, which is maybe what I wanted all along. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's sort of like if you wake up and your voice is a certain way, like yes, that's natural, but you can work on it so that it can be multi-layered, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
think because of what you showed me, I was able to suddenly have all these different voices. And now, like, I've been in a rock band, I did a jazz record, I toured with Bowie, I made this yacht rock record. Like, that is not normal.
I
It's like,
know. I know.
so I appreciate so much
Yeah,
what you've taught me.
yeah. Um, that isn't normal, but man, is it fun.
Oh
Because
my
then
God,
you're never pigeonholed, you're never stuck because you can stretch into different genres and play with them.
totally. Yeah.
That like I've always loved that. Do you have any personal tips for any new upcoming vocalists that you can think of other than study with Mitch? Other than that,
No, seriously, study with you. I send people to you all the time, you know that.
I
Yeah.
know you're very good to me that way. I do have to give you that, the
But you
kudos
know
for
what?
that. I really appreciate it.
It's not for you, really. It's for them because I
Yeah,
know what's going to happen, if they
yeah,
stay with you.
yeah.
And so definitely being consistent. Like I would say treat your vocal lessons like it's a meetup with a friend. Like you wouldn't
Hmm.
ditch your friend, so don't ditch your vocal lessons. And then also just like get out there and have a practical application for it. Because if you're just learning in a bubble, it's kind of not everything, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, and relaxation. Like I think the more you relax, the better everything is, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah. Um, you've had like an amazing career. Like, I mean, from solo records, hit songs, Bowie. Did you not produce the very first rock video from outer space?
I didn't produce it, but I did like help make it. Yeah.
Okay. Um, I still remember that story of you going for a walk in the woods and getting a call from somebody from the space station. It's like,
Yeah.
who does that happen to? I don't. It happens to you. Hanging out with rock stars. You're an author now. You've run your own record label, and what you're mentoring, or what is it you're doing now, as well as all the rest of that stuff? You're guiding people on how to achieve goal. Like, what is it?
Yeah, well, it's coaching.
Okay.
So it's a variety of coaching, like life coaching. I also do career consulting.
Right.
But at the root of it all is music, and
Hmm.
I think, it makes me a better coach that I am active and releasing music.
Yeah.
It's not like a either or thing. But yeah, I love to help people, and it's also, you have that passion too. And I honestly not totally sure where I'd be if I didn't find you. So it's nice to be able to give back.
Yeah, I'm sure you would have done fine. It's the personality to be driven. I mean, I'm the same way. It was my passion. It's what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
Not the teaching thing right off the bat, but it was interesting to find that I enjoyed the teaching just as much, if not more, than the
Yeah,
performing.
it's interesting.
Um, yeah, life is as different, and you're also doing speaking events as well. Um, that's a full
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, it is, and I feel very lucky. And I think at the heart of it is just trying to share what I've learned. And it took
Yeah.
me a long time to learn some things. Like it didn't take long for us to get me to a good voice. But in terms of
Yeah, yeah,
life lessons and
yeah,
career stuff,
yeah,
it's a good like 20 years of just like trial and error. So if I can help someone avoid all that, I'm really happy to do that, right?
yeah. That's perfect. And I will add a link in the bottom of the video here to people want to get a hold of you. They can reach out to you direct,
Perfect.
and find out all about what it is you do, because I know that it's helping a lot of people. So because I've worked with some of your people, and I can see where it's taking them. So I
Yeah.
think that's awesome. So thank you so much for doing this
Thank
on
you. It's
a
always awesome to see you.
early morning.
It's not that early.
Well, you know, and
Awesome.
coffees, and we're missing the Danishes or something.
I know we should have got them delivered, but yeah, if anyone's watching, study with Mitch. You won't be
Yeah,
disappointed.
yeah.
Here's my ad for you.
There we go. Well, thanks so much, Em,
All right, thank you. It's awesome to
and
see you. And let me know if
nice
you need
seeing.
anything else.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this and perhaps learned something, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for the next episode coming soon. I'm Mitch Seekins, the vocal coach.